Hello, financial flippers. It is Kyle Fowler. Happy to be joining you today. We have a really special thing that we've been working on, or that I've been working on within the Flippers group. I've been working with some other experts trying to bring some of their expertise to the group. And today we are going to be talking about health and finances and the correlation between the two. And in doing that, I'm going to bring an expert to the group, Miss Heather Baird.
Hello.
And Heather is our health and lifestyle expert who's going to be talking to us today. How are you doing, Heather?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for
I
having
think
me.
everybody else does too.
Oh, thanks.
So, so talk to us. So health and finances, they are connected. There's a lot of information out there about the correlation between health and finances. And I think that right now, during what we're going through, it's a really pivotal moment for a lot of people. And it's a very important time to be reminded of the importance of not only the financial wellness, which we talk about within this group, but also how that affects your health and those health habits as well.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to us a little bit about what to do during quarantine.
Totally. So this is a really tricky topic. And I've seen it really messing with a lot of people because right now, I mean, what is happening in the world right now? None of us know. It's completely out of our control, right? It's stressful. Everything has changed. Our lives have been turned upside down in more ways than one. And it's kind of turned into this like whole overwhelming thing that's like all consuming, right? And it's like, how could I ever take charge of anything in my life right now, whether that's health or whether that's finances or whatever is going on? It's like, there's too much happening. I can't control anything, and people are freaking out. And so I wanted to give these like top tips for this time, but really, when you think about it, it really relates to any time during the year, aside from when we're in a pandemic, because at the end of the day, life is always pretty crazy. Right. And even when things are normal, it's like life is always happening and changing, and it's overwhelming at that point too. And it's, it holds people back from starting their health journey or staying on it. It's like you're waiting for the perfect time to get healthy. And next thing you know, you're waiting until, next month, January.
So you're saying that now is a perfect time to start looking at how to stay healthy or how to get healthy.
Now is always the perfect time. So let's talk about it. So right now, any time of the year, these are my top 3 tips for like taking charge of your health and taking steps forward no matter what is going on. Number 1 is focus on what you can control. Focus on what you can control and let that thing be really, really small as well. So humans have this tendency to focus on all of the negative things, right? Like if you've heard of the negative bias, we're looking at all the things that are out of our control. We're looking at all the things that aren't going well. We're constantly thinking of all the things that we should be doing, yet we're not doing, right? And like these are the thoughts that we repeat over and over.
Would you say this is kind of like a victim mentality?
Yeah, in a way, because we're wired to survive, right?
So letting the pressures of outside tell you that you're already defeated before you even try.
Yeah, totally.
Even if you can control one thing, control that small controllable.
Absolutely. Control the controllables. Yeah. So instead of thinking of this huge picture that feels so overwhelming and deflated, like there's no motivation in that, right? Of course, you can't find the motivation to start a health journey when you're thinking about all the things that are going wrong, right?
Right.
So it's like, let your focus get really, really tiny to that one small thing you can control, because we can always control something, right? And you may have to search for it, but there's always something you can control. Maybe you can't go to the gym right now because it's closed, but you can go for a 15-minute walk each day. Or maybe you can't do that because of XYZ reason, but you can drink some 8 glasses of water, right? Like that one small thing that you can nail, like let that be the thing and nail it, right?
And you're
Where,
saying
so
kind of
you want to pick
start
something,
with that.
yeah, that one really, really small thing that you absolutely know that you can follow through with. Because the easier it is to follow through with, the more you'll actually follow through. And
Mm.
then the more that you actually follow through, it starts to feel really good. And you start to build trust with yourself. Like, oh, I can do this. I can follow through. And then it builds motivation. And then from there, you can start to build, right? And then before you know it, you've like built these new healthy habits that you don't even have to think about anymore. But when we try to bite off more than we can chew, which is another common thing when you're starting a health journey, right? You think
Mm.
you
You
have to
try to
do
do too
all of
many
it
things at
all
one
at once.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're like, well, I want these results, so I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week and drink the 8 glasses of water and do this and do that. And then it's like you're trying to turn your life upside down and it's overwhelming and it's too hard. And then what happens? Like you stop completely,
Well, we
right?
do the same thing within the group. We talk about baby steps and not trying to bite off too much or chew too many things at one time, because you can't be as effective. And we win at what we focus on. So if we're focused on one thing, then we can be more intentional and more effective
Yes, I
towards
love
that
that.
one goal.
That
Yeah.
hyper focus. It's just setting
Hmm.
yourself up for success. Keep it small.
Yeah.
I love that. So focus on what you can control. Tip number 2 is to let each choice be its own separate thing. So let me explain that. How often do you hear someone say like they made one bad food choice, which then has ruined their day? So then they keep
Oh, yeah.
doing
Yeah, yeah.
these unhealthy choices throughout the day. And then that day has now ruined your weekend, right? You had a bad weekend, so now you have to start Monday. And then like you can't start Monday, and so then your month is ruined, and then right?
Right.
And so it can be so powerful to just let each choice just be its own separate choice. Like one, I wouldn't even call it a bad choice, but one bad choice doesn't mean your whole day has to be affected. It's not ruining an entire day. It's just one choice, right? Like one
Hmm.
cookie doesn't mean you've ruined anything. It just means you've had a cookie. And
Well,
so,
and taking into account how that one choice made you feel.
yeah,
That, I
100%.
mean, if I'm just focused on that one choice, instead of feeling like my whole day is defeated, if that was the wrong choice for me, then I would feel that,
Yep.
and I wouldn't necessarily want to make that choice again
Yeah.
if
And
I'm
then the
just
next
paying
choice
attention to that one.
yep, then you get to make a better choice the next time around. That feels good
Definitely.
to you. And so it just brings in that extra awareness, that extra consciousness, where you start to make those conscious choices instead of just defaulting to the old patterns, reacting, oh, I had a cookie, so that automatically means everything's ruined, which means then I'm going to eat the whole sleeve of cookies, blah, blah, blah. Instead, you just had a cookie, that happened, see how you feel. And the next time it happens again, you get to choose something else, right? Like
Right.
easy. Um, and then finally, and I think this is the most important part on any journey ever that we don't do as humans, is show ourselves compassion. Like show
Oh,
yourself compassion and love and understanding on this journey, because it's not easy. It's not easy ever. Nothing about a health journey is easy. Nothing about, a financial journey is easy. It's hard. And
some people make it look so easy, though. I mean, if you get on social media and you're looking at the world of, I mean, I referred to it last night, and it's an opinion, but Instagram being a very deceitful platform,
mhm,
where it kind of breeds deception based
totally.
on what you're putting a picture of, and I will admit that people's health journeys and even financial journeys look incredible,
Yeah.
and so it automatically breeds that desire to want that, but almost want it more immediately because of society.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So and so has the
it
perfect life and they're totally motivated and everything works out for them. And that's just not the case. That's just not realistic. It's just a
right.
picture feed, where you
But it
make
helps hearing experts say that it's not easy. I think that's so important to say, like you said.
totally. Like this quarantine hasn't been easy for me. Have I been making all the best choices? Absolutely not. And that's okay because everyone is coping different and you just have to figure out what works for you. And so what so often happens is you think that you should be perfect, you should be doing it a certain way based on what the Instagram influencers say or whatever.
Right.
And then you can't do that because it hasn't worked into your life. And then you judge yourself and you make that mean something about you. And it turns into this whole negative thought spiral. And it's really hard to come back from that. And it's hard to learn any lessons from that, right? When you're instantly judging yourself, there's no room to learn or grow when you're coming from that judgment perspective, right? It's like,
Right.
well, I had the cookie. I'm a terrible person. I'll never reach my health goals, you know? And so,
Right.
like, you can't learn. And so, what I would recommend to help you show yourself compassion, because it's really not an easy thing to do. No one has ever taught us that. Is to use curiosity. Let everything just be a learning experience, right? Like, you notice there's no judgment in curiosity.
I've never thought of it like that.
Yeah. So when
Yeah.
something doesn't go according to plan, instead of judging it or judging yourself, you get to use curiosity. Okay, so I chose that cookie. So, like, what happened there? Right? Like, what was I
I
going through
love that.
at that moment? How did it make me feel?
Sure.
What did that cookie satisfy? You know, is there something else I could do next time that would satisfy me in that same way without reaching for the cookie? Right. And it can just be this whole, like, you're just getting curious and questioning about what's happening for you and your circumstances. And then that's how you start to grow and learn in a loving way rather than trying to force and judge and hate yourself there.
I love that. We talk about that sometimes within the group, and it was something that Ashley and I went when we went through marriage prep. That was given to us as a bit of advice. Wasn't don't get furious, get curious.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and so in a relationship setting, instead of getting immediately angry, oh man, every time that this person does this, it drives me nuts, and it grinds my gears when this happens. Or instead of getting immediately angry, take a step back and say, okay, what is it about that makes me angry? And then get more curious about it and give yourself the opportunity to try to learn more.
Yes.
And in a relationship, whether it's with food or whether it's with yourself or whether it's with your finances, I mean, those are relationships that last your entire life.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to be in some kind of a relationship. So why make it so angry and upset now when you have so much more to go in
Yeah,
this relationship?
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
you
So
want to have
learn a
a
little bit.
relationship with yourself. That's the
Yeah.
longest relationship you'll ever be in is the one with yourself. So try to make it a loving one and you'll start to realize like how much you benefit.
I like that. So then in terms of this group, we're talking about health tips during specifically quarantine.
Mm,
But because the financial flippers, we look more at the finance stuff. How do you stay healthy on a budget, say?
totally. So I have a bunch of different little tips that we can talk through. If it starts to get too long, you can be like, wrap it up, Heather. Um, Yeah, so I think a really common maybe misconception or assumption is that being healthy has to be expensive. Like we just assume
Mm.
that it looks that way, but that's not always the case.
Well,
And so,
because organic foods and whole paycheck or Whole Foods, I mean, their stuff is expensive, and we're told buy organic, buy natural ingredients, buy limited ingredients,
totally.
and those are always more expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And so that's another thing where I feel like it's okay to show yourself compassion and focus on those things that you can control, right? Like going back to those original tips, like I
Mhm.
definitely recommend, organic and wild caught, grass fed, all things like that. But that's not always in everyone's budget, and that's okay. And you're not a bad person if you can't opt for organic produce, right? Like you can still choose conventional produce and that's okay. Like you're still getting nutrients from that food, and like it's just being realistic with your budget and figuring out what works for you and your specific situation, right? And let go of any of the guilt of what everyone else is saying. Um, I think the biggest way to save money is creating a plan. I mean, I think with
Mm.
anything, it's like you've got to create that clear plan. The clearer the vision, the easier it is to get there, right? So it's like,
So a clear plan would be something like an actual shopping list when you're walking into the grocery store,
100%.
or meal prepping would be something we've talked about in the group as well.
Totally. Yeah. What are those meals that you enjoy, that the family enjoys, that make you feel good? What are the snacks that you want to have set up for the week so that you can just reach for those healthier foods easily, right? Like, what are all those things? Create your meal plan, create your list, go to the grocery store, stick to the list, right? No impulse buys.
No impulse.
To do that. Yeah. Like, oh, there's a 2 for 3 sale or whatever. And then you start grabbing all these things that you didn't have planned.
Sure.
So the list, that's really important.
Grocery stores make a lot of money on those impulse buys. So it's where you really have to practice. There's one thing you can't control. I can control not buying anything at the impulse counter. Yeah.
I love that. Yes. And then, of course, you can check for different deals at different stores. Different stores are always going to be having different sales and things like that. Eat in season is a big one.
What does that mean?
So different types of produce have different seasons, right? And so I think we're so used to just having all foods at our disposal, but you'll notice like, oh, well, strawberries at this time of year are $7 per carton, when at this time of year, when they're actually in season, they're $3. You know what I mean? And like, we don't always put 2 and 2 together, but the foods that are in season are going to be both cheaper and more nutritious because they're meant to be grown at this time, right? So that's a great way to save money, is paying attention to what is actually in season. Shop bulk and wholesale, right? Like that, okay. Think about nuts that you get or something like that can really add up. But if you go to wholesale, it's so much cheaper and you can stock up. Or, getting those big bulk items rather than individually packaged items, because those individually packaged items, especially the healthy ones, are the things that are super expensive. I feel like those are the things that make people think that eating healthy has to be expensive, is those
It's because they're buying a single serve portion of it instead of buying for a longer period of time.
Totally. Because you pay for convenience. And you've probably seen that meme where it's like the McDonald's cheeseburger is $1 and like the packaged salad is like $8.99 or something. And they're like, this is what's wrong with America. Eating healthy has to be expensive. And it's true, but it's that prepackaged salad,
if you're looking for a quick on-the-go option, they're going to charge you a premium for that.
100%.
So a lot of it takes diligence and planning on your end.
Yeah. If you go and buy those pre-cut veggies or pre-cut fruits or whatever, I mean, that's going to be $7 for a few pieces of fruit, where if you buy the whole fruit and cut it up yourself, it's like $1. But
I don't want to cut up the fruit by myself. My hands get all sticky when I try to cut the orange.
Yeah, it's too much work. And I get that too. And so that's when it's really important, again, to be realistic with your situation. And maybe in some circumstances, the price of convenience is worth it to you. And you can kind of do that like cost benefit comparison. What are those convenient things that would really work for your lifestyle, where it's worth it to pay the extra if you want to buy pre-cut fruit or whatever, like it's okay to be realistic and pay for that convenience if that's what works for you.
Definitely.
And that's another one that I think people forget, is that frozen produce is a great option too. For some reason, I think people think that frozen produce is like less nutritious or like a bad choice for whatever reason. And that's not the case at all. In fact, it can actually be a little more nutritious because those fruits and vegetables are picked at their peak ripeness and then flash frozen. Whereas the fresh produce is actually picked before it's reached its peak ripeness so that it can last the journey to the store. So the frozen can be cheaper and also a more nutritious option. So that's kind of a win-win. And it can be really convenient for when you need those quick meals, right? Like pop it in the microwave or throw it on a sheet pan and bake it up. It's like
Now, is there a real difference between different kinds of brands of frozen vegetables?
I don't know about brands per se, but I would
Well,
say,
maybe what they claim, if they claim more organic. So if that's something I mean, if what you're saying is true, then we technically don't really need to worry so much about paying the premium for something organic if it's frozen, because it has all of those nutrients in it.
totally. Well, there will still be the conventional and organic options, and it's just,
Hmm.
one has been sprayed with pesticides and one hasn't, right? So that's still, I mean, again, the nutrients, that stands, and then it just depends on if you're okay with the extra chemicals,
Right.
all of that stuff. But I would say check your ingredient lists on the frozen foods. If you're getting like, peas in butter sauce or something, like if you check the ingredient list, there's going to be all these extra additives. It's not going to be quite so healthy. Whereas if
Right.
you just frozen straight peas, like that's going to be
Just
your
the
best.
frozen veggies instead of all the other added. That's what you have to watch out for, is all the other added flavors.
Yes. Yes. So you
Mm.
want the ingredients to just say peas or whatever, right? Yeah. Another option for that is bulk cooking at home, right? So this goes along with meal planning, meal prepping, and
Hmm.
cooking a bit extra that you can then later freeze for those nights where you are in a bind and you're really busy and things have gone awry. And that might be a time where you'd find yourself going out to eat and spending extra money that you weren't expecting.
Hmm.
Um, so if you've taken the time to kind of bulk cook a couple of your favorite meals and freeze some of the leftovers, then you can just defrost them and heat them right up. And it's really convenient rather than having to go out and spend that extra money that you weren't
Right.
planning for.
You're also taking away some of the temptation.
Yeah.
There is a little bit more planning that goes into it, but knowing that you have meals at home, knowing that you have snacks at home, is going to eliminate some of that temptation to
Yeah.
have to go out and find something.
Yeah. And that was another point too that I wanted to put out there is like I think we all have our favorite little treats from different restaurants.
Mm.
Like for me, like I love those Starbucks egg cup things. I think they're so
Oh, I've
delicious.
never gotten them, those little
Oh
egg
my God,
bites.
they're so good. But they're so expensive. Right? You go to Starbucks for a coffee and those two little egg bites, and it's like $12 or something, but they're so delicious. And so, something that's really helpful too is looking up copycat recipes online and making them yourself.
Mm.
There are so many copycat recipes for different restaurants. It's insane. So, like, utilize those websites, make it for yourself. Then you're going to get 12 egg cups that you can eat, over days. That's way cheaper than just those little two that you get at the,
Right. All right.
and it's just as delicious. And then you don't feel like you're missing out on anything,
Right.
right?
You're still getting the treat that you want.
Yeah.
A little bit more pride in it. I made it.
Yeah. I made this egg cup. Starbucks.
I did that.
Yeah, and then with that said too, it's like utilize apps, utilize websites. There's so much good information out there on how to meal prep and plan ahead and save money. And like Ashley told me about the app called Budget Bites,
Mm.
where it lists out these meals and the ingredients and the cost, and like exactly what you need to get and how much it's going to cost, how it fits in your budget. I mean, how helpful is that?
I mean, that's exactly what we use. And it tells us exactly what the recipe, like you said, is going to cost. And then we can adjust if we want 8 servings, if we want to freeze some or something, it'll adjust accordingly. But with that being said about apps, there is so much information
Yeah.
online. It's admittedly, it's super overwhelming. So whether you're looking for a fitness app or if you're looking for how to eat healthy, or how do you decide if you're looking at the world of options? How do you decide where to start? I just want to start being healthier. Where do you start?
Mm. Yeah, that's a really good question because it is like an age of information overload.
Yeah, a little
And
bit.
then it's like we have all the information we need right at our fingertips, but then it's like, why am I still not making changes? I know exactly what to do, but I can't do it. And it's because there's like too much out there.
There's too much. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think my advice to that would be kind of going back to the beginning, keep it small, right? Keep it small. if you want to browse through these different pages, everyone is going to be putting out their own messaging, have their own languaging around what they believe in, what they're trying to teach you, right? And different things are going to resonate with different people. And so I think it's really important to honor that. The pages that resonate most with you, that you think are fun, that you actually want to click into and read, rather than what you think you should be following or should be doing. Like, what are those pages that actually make it fun and empowering to sit there and browse through Instagram? Right? Like, just pick those few that speak
Definitely.
to you, because there's a reason why they do. And then just let that be okay and forget the rest, right?
Yeah, so many apps try to do so many different things that in the world of so much information, even just one app can feel overwhelming.
Yeah.
Um, so I do like the idea of going back to start small and just control what you can control. And that little goal, whatever that is, if that's more fitness, if that's more health, finding something that resonates with you and just
Yeah.
start there.
Chunk it way down. Yeah. And you might be following a meal prep page. And so you think like, okay, in order to stay healthy on a budget, I need to plan, I need to meal prep. Okay, so that means that on Sundays, I need to go to the store, I need to buy all the foods, I need to come home and chop them, and prep them, and then cook them, store them, right? And then all of a sudden your whole Sunday is lost and you feel overwhelmed and it feels like crap, and then you don't want to do it. And
Mm,
so that's when, again, you can really chunk it down and find what works for you. Like, there's no right or wrong way to be healthy or be on a journey of any kind. It's all about what works for you. So maybe to start, what works best for you is, okay, maybe on Sunday or whatever day works best for you, I'll go to the store and then I'll just come home and I'll just chop the veggies, and that'll be enough. And then I'll have some veggies ready to go to either throw in the oven another day or maybe snack on or whatever, right? And maybe that can just be the only action you take to start with. And then maybe over time you say, okay, well, Sundays will be my shop day. And then Monday morning will be my like prep everything day. And then maybe on Tuesdays, I'll cook a couple meals. And then on Thursday, I'll cook my meals for the weekend. Or, and it starts to like, you can fit it into your schedule in a way that actually
right. It doesn't
works.
all have to happen at one specific time.
And then play around with it, get curious about what might
Yeah,
work best for you. And that's how it starts to feel better.
definitely. So, okay, so we're talking about, you're saying like go to the store, and we're talking about prepping and all that. And then you just mentioned cutting up veggies and something to snack on. So especially right now, I feel like all I'm doing is snacking. Um, but I do appreciate what you said earlier when you said, have I had some I forget what you call them, not bad things, but you've added some things now and then that you're like, that wasn't what I should have had, but I haven't been my best, but
Mm,
I've had that. But you still look happy and you still look healthy, and um,
thanks.
because I think you're taking care of you. And if in that moment you need something that's different, it's that's okay. But if
Yeah.
we're talking about snacks, how the heck do we find cheaper and healthier snacks? It's like the $1 million question of, what do we put in our fridge or in our pantries that we can just go to if we need those quick fixes or something to nibble on that's going to feel a little bit more indulgent maybe than
Mm.
just a carrot, a baby carrot,
Right.
or chomping on a cucumber.
You don't like to snack on baby carrots all day, every day?
Not all day. I do have baby carrots in the fridge, which is why I thought of them. But to make them more interesting, you know, you'd want to add something like hummus for me.
Totally.
But how do we go about finding cheaper or healthier snacks?
Yeah, so that would be another thing that I would say comes down to planning in advance. Um,
Mm,
Obviously, well, maybe not obviously, I don't know, but the like obviously, um,
you know what I mean?
I would say whole food snacks are going to be way more beneficial in more ways than one and end up being cheaper than buying prepackaged snacks.
Now, what do you mean by whole food snacks?
Whole food snacks like whole fruits. Like,
Like a
one of
whole
my
apple?
favorite snacks on the go is a pear. You know what I mean? Like, bring it in the
Mm,
car, you eat your pear, and you're like, right? You don't need to have like a bar or stop through drive through or whatever. Um,
right.
bananas, banana and nut butter if you want to get really fancy, veggies and hummus, hard-boiled eggs, nuts and seeds, edamame, like things like that, that I think we kind of can forget, like can be snacks. You know what I mean? And you think like, well, I'm
Mm.
having chips, or like that's what a snack is, and that's not necessarily
Ah, we've let society tell us what a snack is, or
okay.
we've let advertising or branding tell us what a snack is.
Yeah. And they
Like
can,
a snack wrap at
right?
McDonald's.
Yeah. I used to
This
get
is
those
a
all the time.
snack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
They
is your,
tell you what they tell you what the portion is. Right.
yeah. 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 And so, so we have that vision of what a snack needs to be, but something else too to keep in mind with that, um, is like those pre-portioned snacks, or like that snack wrap from McDonald's, right? It might seem really convenient and like it's a really good snack, but then how many times have you had one of those snacks and then you're hungry again an hour later? Like they're not
Yes.
satisfying enough, right? Or you
But
like
it's
say,
just a snack, so it's not supposed to be as satisfying, right?
right. But that is a good point. Um, But then you find that you end up eating more, right? Like then you need another snack because you're hungry again.
Mm,
Whereas if you eat a whole food snack, it actually keeps you fuller longer so that you can make it to your next mealtime without being like, oh, I just need more, even more chips or whatever, right?
right.
If you have foods with protein, fat, and fiber, like those are the three ingredients to like help you feel satisfied and fulfilled. And it keeps your blood sugar balanced, it keeps your energy levels stable. And so you can make it through your days without feeling your blood sugar drop, and you're feeling really hungry and angry and shaky and all of those things. And the next thing you know, you're craving, pastries and sugar to like get your energy up really quick. And it kind of can start you on this really difficult cycle that's hard to get off.
Right.
So if you just really are proactive and focus on those whole food snacks, things that have protein, fat, and fiber, you'll find that you stay satisfied longer and you have the energy to make it through your day, and you're not craving as much sugar and you feel really good. You're buying less snacks because you need less snacks because you feel more satisfied throughout the day and happier, right? And more energetic.
Mm,
So it might like take some extra time and planning to have those whole food snacks ready to go to make them the easy choice. But think about how much you'll actually be benefiting from doing that. Like, what's the cost of having a bag of chips or like a sleeve of cookies that's going to send you on this downward spiral? It's not satisfying. It's not nourishing
right.
your body in any way. And it's going to end up costing you not only more money because you have to buy more and more snacks, but it's also costing you your energy, your blood sugar levels, your mood. You know what I mean? It adds up in different ways, if that makes sense.
Something that Ashley and I did is because we keep fruit around and we'll definitely nibble on it. But then it inevitably goes bad,
Mm,
so if we don't finish all the bananas or the apples or the blueberries that are, for the granola or things like that.
yeah.
Um, for apples, particularly because we enjoy apples, we enjoy fruit. We just don't want to deal with the mess of them.
Hmm.
So we bought one of those apple slicers
I need one of those.
so that it just makes it more convenient. We're making something that's already healthy, a good habit. We're making it more convenient, which makes it more accessible for
Yeah.
us. So that's something that we did recently is we got one of those apple slicers. So we're actually like, it's on a plate, we just slice it and it's on a plate and it's like, oh, I feel so fancy with this, like snack, but it's just because we actually cut it.
Yeah,
Um,
it makes it even more
we made
enjoyable.
it, yeah, we made it more convenient.
I love
Um,
that. That's such a good point. Like, yeah, we forget that there are those little things that you can do to just make it that much easier. And you're like, well, I should be okay to just cut an apple, but it's annoying, right?
now, now there are things that are okay to spend money on. Okay. Sorry, there are good things to allocate money to in terms of your budget, in terms of what you're looking at. And so if I'm looking at that financially, I'm saying, oh well, I don't want to invest in this tool, but if it yields us eating healthier, if it makes us feel better to know that, yeah, it was a cheap little device, but if there's something more significant that helps you as a person, to be healthier, then I think that that's something worth talking about too. So talk to me a little bit about allocating money towards us as people. So if we're looking at all of these different things and we're looking at our finances, but really looking at the health of ourselves, what about, do I get to put any of that money back towards me, and how can I do that?
Totally. So I love this question. Um, and something that comes up for me is with this topic, I think money and time can kind of be used interchangeably.
I think that absolutely. Yeah.
Right? They're both an investment.
Yeah.
And it's hard to invest in yourself, whether that's money or time. And it's really easy to feel guilty about doing that. Like moms have their mom guilt, where it's like, I can't take time for myself because I need to be taking care of everybody else.
Right.
Or like I shouldn't be buying XYZ because I'm trying to pay off this debt. And so I'll feel guilty if I do anything for myself. But I think it's so important to remember that you have to take care of you. You know what I mean? Like it's not selfish. Um,
You're the only you that you get. So
yeah,
you have to take care of you.
right. Like, yes, I think it's common to think, oh, taking care of myself is selfish. And what I want to offer is maybe the opposite is true, that not taking care of
Mm.
yourself is selfish. Ooh,
Ooh, you flipped the script.
that version. But because listen, when you take care of yourself and put yourself first, um, then you are presenting yourself to the world as your like A plus version. You are showing up as your best self. So everyone around you benefits from that. Whereas if you're not
Mm.
taking care of yourself, you're slowly deteriorating, you're falling apart, right? You're giving everyone your B, C, D version of yourself. And then no one really benefits from that. Right. So, like, of course, in your heart, you want to put everyone else first and take care of them. But if you're not at your best, you can't take your best care of them. Whereas if you have invested in yourself, whether it's that money or that time or both, then you're fulfilled. Oh my gosh. I listened to a podcast. Let's see if I can describe this properly. This is a risk. But I was listening to this podcast where they were talking about the importance of self-care, and they compared it to a vase like filled with water. And they were saying, so okay, you're this vase that's full of water, and you want to take care of all the other plants or things around you that need water. And so you start spilling out little bits of yourself to all those things, right? Spilling out, spilling out. I'm taking care of them. I'm taking care of them. But then what happens?
Mm-hmm.
Eventually you dry up, and then you've got nothing left to give. And then everyone else suffers because now nobody's got any water, right? Whereas
Yeah.
if you just turn on the faucet, keep taking care of yourself, then you fill up. And then instead of pouring bits of yourself on everyone else, it's just overflowing. The water is overflowing and everyone benefits. You feel good, they feel good. So it's really, really important that in your mind, you let yourself realize that, wow, taking care of myself is really important. And if
We
that
talk
means,
about that. We talk about that with finances too. How important um, the weak can't carry the weak. So if people around you need help, but you need help financially, the best way for you to help others is for you to take care of yourself, take care of your home first, and then be a blessing to those around you. Because, like you said, to your point, you can't pour from an empty cup.
yeah, no one benefits from that.
No, and you start to lose yourself in the process.
Yes.
And so I think I'm starting to see what you mean about, it's actually more selfish to not take care of yourself. Uh, maybe selfish is the wrong word, but I think that idea of flipping that and saying, no, 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 take care of yourself so that you can take care of those around you.
Yes.
Because people need people, and they crave that are interaction with others. We need relationships on some level.
100%.
And so the best way to to take care of those is to make sure that we are walking into the room having taken care of ourselves.
Hmm.
Not saying that you can't lean on other people, um, but if we start with that intention, then we can be more successful in our other relationships,
Yes,
including the one with ourselves.
totally. Yeah, it starts with us.
Yeah,
And so I think it's what can help is getting really clear on those things that are important to you that do make you feel good, right? Figuring out what those things are, what your non-negotiables might be. What are those things that fill up your cup or your vase or whatever you want to say?
mm,
Whether it's, allocating money towards those healthy foods that make you feel really good. Or maybe, something that's important to you is going to your yoga class or your fitness class, or, getting a massage so you're not like tight muscles all the time, or the chiropractor, whatever those things might be to you.
sure.
And then letting that be an okay part of the budget, right? Because it's necessary. Like, this is necessary for your health, for your wellness, and in turn, then everyone else around you, because you're feeling your best.
I think there are definitely things that are not, that we convince ourselves that we need. Um, I have to have my Starbucks every day. Well, let's look at a different way to do that. And then, we talk about making coffee at home, or I mean, there's different ways to kind of work around that. But I've talked about this with clients too, is that if is there an area of your life that you feel something is kind of lacking, where you feel like you're pouring from an empty cup because you're not being refilled, or
Mhm.
and I mean, we don't have kids, but thinking about a single mom feeling like she doesn't have time for herself,
Yeah.
maybe saying, I think it's important that I give myself an hour every week just to read a book or to do something. And so I have a babysitter for an hour
Yeah.
once a week, just to allow myself. I don't know that that's selfish. I mean, Ashley and I have talked about, as parents, if that's something that ends up being in our future, that we would make sure to try to prioritize ourselves and still take small trips to take care of the home relationship, to take care of
Mhm.
our relationship, so that we can be a better foundation and be better parents, um, for kids. Like I said, if that's something down the road that ends up being a part of our lives.
Right. Yeah, I think it's easy to think of those things as like an indulgence, like
Mm,
a single mom, oh, take an hour for myself, hire a babysitter, like that's too indulgent. I can't do that. But when you think of it in that way, like you said, everything else is going to benefit from that. Then it kind of becomes, it's not really an indulgence, but rather a necessity. Like this
sure, it's a way to yeah. It's a way to keep touch with yourself, and to stay intentional and to focus on those goals that you've set for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
um, by giving yourselves those little, like you said, indulgences, but really they're not indulgences. And I don't know that they're necessities. They are, well, I guess they are. I guess they are necessities. They're things that you've said, this fills my cup, which helps me fill other people's cups. I want this to be a part of my life. And if
Yeah.
that's an hour a week, or if that's, we take a week off once a year and go somewhere, or if it's something super small, I turn my phone off from midnight to 9 a.m.
Mm.
and it doesn't matter who's calling. I'm not available.
Yes,
Small things that we can do.
absolutely. Yeah, and
So
thinking of
then,
necessities, and like that can look all kinds of different ways too. You know what I mean?
mm,
Just because it's a necessity doesn't mean it has to be done every week or even every month, or right. Like, there are lots of different self-care options that can kind of fit into different times.
right. Well, everything is subscription based now. So everyone thinks that, oh, it has to happen on a schedule, a set
So true.
schedule.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, I love a subscription box. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Right.
And there's like something that I like to recommend, is that you kind of almost create a menu for yourself, because the more options, the better when it comes to self-care or anything. Um, and so you can kind of create a menu of ideas where it can range from, these are my free self-care ideas, right? And these are the things that I could do maybe in 2 minutes, which is like go to another room and take some deep breaths, or like do a 5-minute guided meditation, or get down on the ground and stretch, or like those things that are free and can be done really easily, and they work
Hmm.
really well when you're busy. And then you could have another category that's like, okay, a little more time based. Maybe it's like take a hot bath, or call a friend for an hour, or whatever those things might look like. And then you can have your bigger things, your more indulgent things, like get a massage or take a trip or whatever, and then you can
Right.
to figure out how they work with your budget, with your lifestyle, where they fit in with your schedule, and start kind of piecing it all together. And the
I
next
love
thing,
that idea.
all the options in the world, and it's really exciting instead of feeling just like stuck, like you've got nothing going on.
Sure. I love the idea of giving yourself options of ways to take care of yourself. Like you said, having a smaller things, having things that are free that you can do, if
Mhm.
that's going to a park and just going for a walk, or like you said, the more indulgent items that you have to budget for, whether it's
Yeah.
massages or whether it's a babysitter or taking a trip or something like that.
Mhm. Yeah.
So then, talk to me about because this is really the crux of all of this. So we've gone through how to kind of stay healthy during quarantine. We've talked about staying healthy on a budget, and we've talked about cheaper and healthier snacks, and how to allocate money, and it's not selfish to do so, towards yourself, so that you can fill your own cup and be a blessing and not pour from an empty cup to those around you. But what is really the correlation between personal finance and health and wellness?
Mm.
I in looking at some things online, I found that there's a lot of information, a lot of studies that are done that are talking about how entwined they are.
Mm.
That if somebody is very financially responsible, chances are they're healthier. Um, And I think that that's such a random statistic, but I found it in the Journal of Psychological Science that employees who saved for their future by contributing to their 401ks were 27% more healthy than those who didn't.
So crazy.
That's mind blowing. That's
Yeah.
crazy. But I guess if a financial habit is a healthy habit,
Mm.
um, or is that just a good habit that responds into the rest of your life, or flows into the rest of your life? Does it affect the other pieces of your life,
Yeah.
taking care of just your health?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's so interesting, the healthy habit piece. Because it once you learn how to build healthy habits in any area, it benefits every other area. Because really every area of our lives are connected. Our health, our finances, career, relationships,
Mm,
feeling connected to whatever you feel connected to, like they all fit into each other. And so when you start to kind of focus on one area, like if you're lacking in one area, it's probably affecting another one, right? Maybe your finances are failing, and so it's starting to affect your health because you're stressed out about it, or whatever, or vice versa, right?
sure, sure,
Suffer,
sure.
and your finances are suffering because of all the things that go into poor health, and and all the other categories that fit into there. But once you start really focusing on one of the areas and building those healthy habits, you start to realize how to do that with every other area of your life. And it starts to just trickle over into all the other areas, right? Like, I love to think of all the possibilities that could happen when you start to prioritize those things that are more important to you, if that makes sense. Like, say
Yeah,
you do start focusing on your finances so that you can improve your health. So you
that sounds so silly to say that. To hear somebody say, if you just take care of your finances, you'll be healthier.
right.
Like, statistically, that's the truth, but that's weird to hear that kind of correlation. But it's interesting that you say that, because another study I found, TD Bank did a survey which said that those who pursued financial goals were more likely to stick to fitness goals.
Mm.
And if a relationship, we talked about how finances is a relationship that we have for the rest of our lives because it's going to flow through our lives forever, or the relationship with ourself, we deal with that relationship forever. So don't abuse that relationship. Try to nurture and try to learn and grow from what you can learn. So it makes sense, even though it's weird for our brains to hear it,
Yeah.
because they don't really talk about that in advertising for McDonald's snack wraps. They don't talk about, you know, it's budget friendly, so you get, it's healthier.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I just think that's so. I think that's so interesting because finances are a stressor in life.
Mm.
Finances cause a lot of problems. And that's another statistic too. I think the two biggest things are anxiety and stress.
Yeah.
And those I found too. I mean, some of the other ones that came up were raised blood pressure, muscle tension, digestive issues, shame and guilt. And then another one is doctor avoidance. And I guess if you think about it, if you're not, if you're not really wanting to financially put money into taking care of yourself, you're going to avoid maybe going to the doctor.
Yeah.
Um, but what kind of effect does that have on your health as well?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I do love the correlation between the two.
Yeah, I agree. And I think like one more thing that comes up for me kind of around all of this, like something that holds us back mentally from doing things that we know we should. Well, here we go with shoulds. Um, as I was actually going to say, like, this is a time to let go of the shoulds or the shouldn'ts, where I could easily see how you would think, oh, well, finances are tight, so I really shouldn't be setting aside this money for myself, or you know what I mean? I shouldn't be doing this because of XYZ. And that really holds us back. And so I think what can be really helpful is thinking about what will open up for you when you do. Does that make
Mm,
sense? Like, so you're like, oh,
sure.
I can do this because of XYZ, and this will go wrong because of this and that. When you could kind of flip that and think, okay, I know now how important um, working with my finances is to then work on my health. And then, so what might happen if I do, right? Like, what might happen if I start to budget in these self care items? Um, then you start to feel better, right? Like, you
Kind of
start
an
to feel
exciting thing to
better.
think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, oh gosh, well, then I could go to my yoga and like I could feel fulfilled. And then, what would happen is I would probably have more energy. And then when I have more energy, what kinds of things can I do? Well, I can show up at work in a more productive fashion. Maybe I can get more stuff done at work in a shorter amount of time,
Mm,
which means that I'm done with work quicker, which means I can come home and spend more time with my family, which is really
right.
fulfilling, right? And then my
Right.
family life improves. And then, right, like it all just starts to work into each other. And next thing you know, it's like, well, damn, I've turned my whole life upside down by focusing on one thing that I didn't think I could or should do, right? Like, so
Right.
start start thinking about all those possibilities of what will go right and what will open up for you by doing these things. And that
I think
can
that's
really.
such a key phrase is what opens up.
Mm.
Again, when we were going through marriage prep, another quote that was given to us is the person that you love should open doors for you. They should never close doors for you. And I think that that can apply to different relationships that we have in our life. If you have a healthy relationship with something or someone, that should open doors for you.
Mm.
It shouldn't close doors for you. And so if you have an unhealthy relationship with food, that closes some doors
Mm.
for you. It closes some physical limitations. It closes, I mean, if it causes anxiety and stress, then that's going to close some doors. Um, so we want to look at things that open up, like you said, that open up possibilities for us and open up those good doors,
Yes.
of ways to give back and ways to pour from that overflowing cup
Mhm.
because we've taken the time to be very intentional about what we choose. If that is massages, I don't know that my life needs a massage in order to feel more fulfilled.
Right.
It would be nice. Um, so you have to be intentional with what it is that you choose to
Totally.
focus on. Yeah,
Yeah, what are
and
those
bring into your life.
Yeah, everyone's going to have those different things that fill them up. And then again,
Yeah,
let go of the shoulds, let go of those things you think you should be doing or have to do that other people say would fill you up, and get really curious about what actually fills you up, right? Those
yeah,
important for you. What are your non-negotiables? And let those be totally, totally perfect.
I love that. What are your non-negotiables? What are you not willing to give up because you know that it's kind of a piece of who you are, you
Yeah.
know? I think I think that's great.
Yeah. We're just solving all the world's problems, aren't we?
If it was only so easy to solve all the world's problems. But yeah, I appreciate this so much, the time that you've taken to chat about this, and it's um, it's a stressor. I mean, finances are a stressor, and it causes a um, a kind of health turbulence, if you will, or
Mhm.
turbulence in our health
Yeah.
when you're not paying attention to finances. And I think it's important that people have the conversation and are aware of different options within that.
100%. Get curious
Get
about
curious. I
where
love
you
that
can
so much.
start. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you again so much, Heather. This
Thank
was
you.
fun.
It's
I hope
fun.
we can do it again.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I hope you flippers have found this exciting and informational and educational. And if you have any other questions, you can reach out to me, or you're more than welcome to reach out to Heather. Heather's also a part of the group. And so she's more than happy to share some of her expertise too.
Totally.
But until next time, we'll catch you later.
Yay.
All right. Thanks again, Heather.
Bye.
Bye.